Hi, welcome to Finding Your Family History. This is our introduction to genealogy. And my name's Tyson. I'm an information services librarian. In this class, we'll look at how to get started. We'll look at some of the local resources in the area, some useful websites that have information that might help you, and then we'll look at the databases that the library offers, and I'll give you some searching tips. So to get started, you really have to start with something. So the best thing to be able to do is to question relatives. You want to find out basically dates, names, and places, maybe ages. Write down everything you know or you think you know about your family. Call your relatives. Uh, Sit down and do an interview. Ask parents or grandparents, but also ask uncles and aunts. Don't just ask for dates, names, and places. Sometimes they're not going to remember that stuff in an interview right off the bat. The best thing to do is to maybe try and get them to talk about an event. Oh, remember how we used to have the summer barbecue and the type of food that we had? And then they'll get into a story and you might learn some things. It's that type of connection can help. Maybe it's too late. There's not many people around. You have to go through the family papers. There are records lying around the house. Sometimes it was tradition to keep births and death records in a family Bible. You're going to kind of ask other relatives that you have to kind of do the same. Sometimes you can find wedding, birth, death, and other family announcements, maybe an old photo album, baby albums, newspaper clippings, anything that can kind of help give you a lead. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start making a family tree chart. Now, many of these charts are available from books or on these websites, and they're easy to get a hold of. You're just working backwards from yourself to your parents to your grandparents and so on. So your first resource, local resource, is the National Archives. And we're fortunate that there's a branch of the National Archives on Trapello Road in Waltham. They're really a treasure trove of great information. Anything that's a government record, military records, uh, census records. The National Archive people, they know how to search this stuff. They used to do some genealogy classes. I don't know if they still do. The main thing with them is, just kind of plan your visit. Try and do it during weekday, as early in the day as possible, and they'll give you some tips and some help. Um, Next is the New England Historic Genealogical Society. They're kind of the founding genealogical organization established in 1845. If your relatives came in the eastern seaboard, they probably have records. That's how extensive their collection is. But they also offer a lot of professional services if you're looking for an expert or an actual genealogist to hire for a day or just advice and forms to get started. They're a good choice. The thing with them is they're private, unlike the other things I'm showing you, which are free. So you do want to have a little background information and be prepared if you intend to go spend a day there. I think they'll charge you $25 a day just to sit and use their collection. But we're lucky that we have them around. They really have all the resources you could ever want. Okay, FamilySearch. They're the Genealogical Society of Utah. We have what they call a Mass Family History Search Center at the church in Weston, and we have their number. Basically, they're volunteers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They've done us a great service by collecting all these records. That's why genealogists go to Utah to do research. More and more of this stuff is available online, and FamilySearch is their website where you can uh, search a lot of those records actually online. However, um, the Mass Family History Center that's nearby, they're really good. I've heard nothing but great things about how they help, and they're kind of the people you go to if you get stuck. You've done your searching, you've got some information, and now you're kind of stuck, or you really are dying to know maybe more and want to go through newspapers of the time to see if your ancestors are in them and stuff. They can get you the local papers from the time on microfilm. They can probably help you get unstuck. They have free how-to classes, and they're friendly and another great resource to use. The Daughters of the American Revolution, their website actually lets you research their records for also. They basically give you some good beginning advice and how to start looking, which is really nice. If you're looking for Jewish genealogy, Jewish Gen is a great place to try to search records. They have, well, 30 million records. That's a lot. A lot of international records, a lot of search tools and stuff. So if you're doing Jewish genealogy, you might want to try them. This Roots to Roots Foundation specializes in Eastern European records and also a lot of Jewish records. It's good to know about. They've started to release some of their documents to FamilySearch and to Jewish Gen, but you can always use their website. It's a good source if you're looking for Eastern European records, which can be difficult. Okay, so now the Wellesley Free Library offers two databases. This is Heritage Quest. Basically what you do is you go to the wellesleyfreelibrary.org website, click on Adults, then you'll get this caption. You want to click on eLibrary, and then you will see here under digital resources, this database is A to Z. It lists alphabetically the databases that we have. You can skip to H for Heritage Quest, and you'll see Heritage Quest listed here. You click on it, and it will give you access. It looks like this. Now, Heritage Quest was bought by Ancestry. So more and more of their stuff is starting to look just like Ancestry, and there's a lot of overlap between Heritage Quest and Ancestry. So why would I use Heritage Quest and not just do Ancestry? Heritage Quest has a couple things that are a benefit. One of them is that it's available from home for Wellesley patrons. So if you live in Wellesley, you can get online access to Heritage Quest from home. Ancestry is usually not available from home. So that's one difference. The other is that they have this nice search books feature. Here you are trying to do this genealogy of your family. What if somebody else has already done it? You could have a shortcut. So one of the first things I tell people to do is why not search for a book? So if you click on this search, you will see you get a search screen. And if I type in Bartholomew Family, Bartholomew is my mother's maiden name, and they used to tell, oh, they came over with the Pilgrims, blah, blah, blah. And now they wrote a book. So I was always curious about it. So I put in Bartholomew Family, and there are fortunately only 3. And the book of which my mother was speaking is this last one by George Wells Bartholomew, Record of the Bartholomew Family. Now, when I started as a librarian, I tried to get a copy of that book sent to me from another library. I get books from all over the United States. But this particular book, it was denied. No one would send it to me. That's what makes this so special. Now it's full text online, the whole thing. As you can see, if I click on it, it has the title page, the contents, the different chapters, all right here. And if I search for my relative, William Bartholomew of Ipswich, he's the one that came over in 1634 on the Griffin with Anne Hutchinson. And so it's kind of cool. I was able to trace that side of the family using this book from William all the way to the when the book was published. It's nice, and it'll save you a lot of work if you get lucky like I did. So that's Heritage Quest. So Ancestry is what you're all probably interested in. You get to it the same way. You'll see it listed here. Currently, during the COVID crisis, they're letting us have remote access, but that is not usually the case. Usually, you can only use it in the library. The other thing I should mention is we get the library edition. So, there's good and bad things about that. The good news is that the library edition gets access to the foreign records, which I think are an extra cost if you're subscribing from home. However, the bad news is that in their ads they're always telling you to follow the leaf this, leaf that. Well, that's because they're having you make a family tree online, and if they find someone they think is one of your relatives, they kind of put a leaf, and then you can click on it and check it out. The library edition doesn't do that because we don't let you make a family tree. So there's no leaves with the library edition. Okay, so when you click on Ancestry to get on from home, it is going to ask you for your library card number, and once you enter that, you will get the search screen. You just click on search, and it will give you this basic screen. It's divided up between your basic search, a few more options, and then searching by different continents, and then searching specific records. My advice is to search all the records at once for the first time, putting in as much information as you have. So let's look at the search screen for a second. We're going to look for my great-grandfather. His name's Alex Bowles. You will see that as you enter information, you'll get a pop-up area. And it will ask you things like sounds like, similar, that type of information. It's because in a lot of these records, there's spelling issues, accents got in the way, or just plain they weren't writing the same, or it's transcribed, but they couldn't really read the handwriting correctly. So the computer will search and take all that into account if you tell it to. And so you want to tell it to. That's the same with all of these categories. So you'll see that when I fill out my search, I have exact, sounds like, and similar for the first name, exact, sounds like, similar, and sound X for the last name. Uh, they lived in Wellesley, and I took one of the things that's going to help you with these, because there's so many records, and you're going to be hunting and pecking through the records trying to find the right one that's yours. It's not as easy as I'm making it look. And one of the things that helps narrow it down is putting in a place and putting in a birth year. Those are things you want to do all the time. You want to guess if you don't know. So the birth year is a guess. You can see I put plus or minus 10 years. You know, it's just based on the fact that, well, I know my grandfather was born in 1908. I know that he was a middle kid. So figuring that my great grandfather was probably 25 or so, maybe a little older when my grandfather was born. It's just a good guess. Okay, so if you show fewer more options, you can also add information that you might know about, say, a spouse or a mother or what have you. I've entered the spouse because I know that my grandmother's name was Emily, and I also happen to know her maiden name was Snow. So I've entered that to try and narrow down the records. Then I've hit search, and I get this screen here, which is showing me the information I have, which I can adjust here. It shows me how many records are in each category. So if I was only looking for birth, marriage, death, there's 3,000 records. I could specifically look at those only. And on this side, it's giving me all the different records it finds. Now, the first thing it's doing is it's putting this top one up with kind of a picture thing and a matching person. See, it says from family trees. Somebody, one of my relatives, filled out a family tree and put this information in here and is offering it to you. So if you see this, it's somebody else's work already done. But you don't know if you can trust it or not. So you want to be careful about whether or not you choose to use it. Underneath, you're going to see it has the federal census, it has birth records, because I asked for everything. If I click on a census records are really good, and I'll show you why. If you click on the census record, this is, I believe, the census for 1920, it gives me all sorts of information about the household. So it's going to help me learn where they were from. It's going to help me learn maybe the parents' names, and maybe where they were from, so that I can search further back. It also is going to give me who was in the household at the time. That's going to help me narrow down if I got the right Bowleses or not, right? And of course, in this case, it is the right ones. My grandfather looks like he was 10, and these are his different brothers and sisters. Okay. So in this case, here's the list again. I'm going to select the marriage records. And when I select the marriage record, it's going to show me the different choices it made. Alexander Bowles instead of Alec. I don't know where they got Alec from. Again, maybe accent or something. Not sure. This is a good record because a lot of this information is kind of funny. It has the spouse's name. We love marriage records because they'll often have the mother and father's name, and that will help you search more. In this case, it does. But you want to be a little bit careful because you'll see this is Margaret Crowell, but if you view the actual document, you can see it's Margaret Croswell, and it's actually Croswell is correct. So you want to be careful even with the printed part that they do. Okay, well, that's fine. What about foreign records? That's one of the things that Ancestry has been adding quite a bit. You saw that there's a map below. You just select the area you want to search. I've chosen Europe, and then you click on the county you want to search. In this case, I'm selecting Leitrim. You can see County Leitrim here. It shows me the different records, but it says see more about Leitrim. If I click on the see more about Leitrim, this is showing me the records that they have and the amount of records. If I click on see more about Leitrim, it will give me a search box here, in which case I'll be able to put in the name of my great grandfather, the location, and I put in what we now know, Margaret Croswell, right, as the family member. And when we do the search, we get results that look similar to what we had before, with the first two being the actual birth records from a city called Drumcareen in Ireland. And when I click on the record, it shows me that my great-grandfather was born in November 4th of 1870, and Drumcareen, Leitrim, Ireland was the birthplace. Unfortunately, there is no image, but what I thought was interesting is where are they getting this information? Well, basically, they're getting it from Ancestry, and they're getting it from FamilySearch. The original data: Ireland births and baptisms 1620 to 1911, index Salt Lake City, Utah, FamilySearch. So I bet we could have found this if we'd gone to the FamilySearch website also. But that's kind of how you use Ancestry. I wish you all best of luck in your searching.